Ricky, Chase Burns is going to be a Cincinnati Red till 2033. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it.
Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
This is the Red Hot Reds podcast. Here are your hosts, Ricky Logan and Roger Straz.
Yeah, what's funny about that is that I saw that Jeff Passan's original tweet said team control through 2023, and I was like, oh man, we lost control before we even drafted him.
But remember 2023, Ricky? That was a great year.
That was a good year.
Anyway, welcome to Red Hot Reds, the Cincinnati Reds podcast, hosted by myself, Roger Strauss, and Reds on SI writer Ricky Logan. I don't know if you heard the news. If you haven't heard the news, you heard it here first, I guess. But any Reds fan that has been paying attention the last 24 hours has heard the news that we have our ace under control for a 7-year extension that will get us to 2033. And Ricky, I don't know. This was kind of weird. It was like bad vibes going into the All-Star break. Chase Burns was not going to pitch in the All-Star game. The Reds are 9 games under 500, whatever they are, and they're probably not necessarily going to do much after the All-Star break. Going to sell off a bunch of pieces as we predict. But we got some good news, which is great. What was your reaction initially?
I think I fell down to my knees in my work break room. Tears of joy. Just no. It's super exciting. I just, I think Bob and Phil said, Chase, we feel sorry for you having the best year of your life and we can't pitch you in the All-Star game. So here's $105 million. It maybe part of it is ownership's kind of hearing the heat from the fan base about how bad the team's been doing over the last two and a half months. And this is just something to kind of flip the narrative, and in a good way. I think we can all agree that Chase needed to be extended, but I think it's something to get the news cycle off of the hate towards them. And moves like this kind of happen at the All-Star break anyway. The guys are available. He didn't pitch. He was in Philadelphia, but he didn't pitch. But yeah, dude, it's exciting. We made an extension. When I first saw Reds and extended, I thought it was Sal Stewart, but I'm excited that we got Chase Burns locked up.
Yes, the deal is 7 years, $105 million. They've been thrown out there. It's the most guaranteed money for a starter that has only had less than 4 years of control, or whatever it was, 4 years of service time or whatnot. That's not the point. The way that this market, or the way that the MLB market has been, is to try to lock up your young stars early. Jackson Chourio got locked up in AAA, and they did it again in Milwaukee. And then I think another team, the Mariners, did that to their AAA player. So the smaller markets that aren't Los Angeles, Chicago, LA, have to get these guys young. And they got him after the All-Star. That's the crazy thing. I'm starting to think, you were talking about he didn't pitch in the All-Star. I think that might have been calculated. I think they probably approached his team weeks ago. There was no whispers of it, you know what I mean? But they usually have to do this over a certain amount of time to go back and forth about the numbers, guarantees, stuff like that. So when they probably got super close right before the All-Star game, they probably were like, hey, Chase, it's probably a good thing if you don't get hurt at this All-Star game, because you're going to sign a big contract on Thursday. So I think there may have been that. This groin thing, I think, might be a cover for that. They didn't want the contract to get spoiled, because all of a sudden Chase Burns goes out there and, I don't know, pulls an oblique, right, in Philadelphia. And then all of a sudden the Reds are like, wait a minute, deal's off. That's my kind of working theory, because it was kind of weird how it all developed with Chase Burns. But neither here nor there. I'm not upset about it. If we're going to get him extended 7 years, as opposed to him pitching 20 pitches, 15 pitches in an All-Star game, I'll take the extension obviously every day, and that means that he's going to have more opportunities, hopefully, health permitting, that he's going to have more All-Star opportunities to get out there and have the financial security as well behind him.
Yeah, how surprised were you at the total number at 105 million over 7 years?
Not really, actually. It actually was. It felt kind of right. Was it come out to like 15 average annual value or what have you? I haven't seen the exact breakdown on like Spotrac or whatever, but like it feels right. Obviously, we kind of have been, and I was going to get into this. NL Central has been locking up their guys left and right with extensions. There's a Connor Griffin extension, and he's played less games than Chase Burns has, right? And he has less service time than Chase Burns. What's the other? JJ Weatherholt just got extended by the Cardinals at 120, I want to say. So like 105 makes sense because pitchers, unfortunately, because they get hurt, with more regularity than a field player, that it makes sense to be less than Connor Griffin and less than JJ Weatherholt, just for those two examples of young guys that are newly on the scene. So I don't know. What about you? Like, was 105 like a big number or a small number for you?
I think it was a good number. I don't think I was kind of expecting anything in terms of dollar amount. I was just surprised that it was nearly double the Hunter Green extension because Green's was 6 years, 53. And obviously he does have a $21 million club option that boosts up the value greatly, but I don't know. It's strange, I guess, because the last time the Reds did anything close to this was Homer Bailey, and hopefully it doesn't work out the same way. But I think they're totally different pitchers, and I don't think it's going to, just to be clear. But yeah, I mean, it's 105. That's a good number. I think there was people talking about the Reds not extending him past his arbitration years and then just moving on in the future. But what are they adding? 1 extra year of team control post arbitration, 2 years. So, I mean, it's a good deal. He's only going to be like 30 years old, I think, when the deal's over. So you could trade him at 29 years old and get top trade value from him if that's what they decide to do. But yeah, I was just still kind of shocked that it happened. It's been 24 hours, 28 hours or whatever it's been, but the Reds made a extension to a star player. Like, it's just, we've been waiting for this for years with Ellie. We've been waiting for this. We were waiting for this with Matt McClain. We were thinking about it with Noelvi Marte. We were, Nick Lodolo a couple of years ago. Yeah, I mean, it's they did it. Like they did it.
Yeah, it feels like the right number because starting pitching, if it's not locked up in a Hunter Green type contract where it's undervalued and maybe you back end it with, like you said, a $21 million option at the end, it can get real expensive. Like, what was it? Like the numbers that like Verlander and Scherzer were going for when they were out of contract, like $21 to $25 million for like 30-plus-year-old pitchers. Like Dylan Cease, what did he sign for? Like a huge number in Toronto. So like pitching can get really expensive if you can't lock it up, or if, like you said, you can go down the route of just 6 years of control going through arbitration. But who knows what his arbitration numbers would be in, arbitration year number 3, right? And then after the CBA and everything like that. I think I heard a lot of things is that the NL Central teams with like the Connor, Griffin, with the Chase Burns extension are trying to get ahead of maybe the CBA, trying to lock in their stars long term before something in the market changes. And that makes total sense. That's the reason why we were kind of saying the same kind of things about Sal. And we can get into the Sal stuff because that, like you said, when you heard the word Reds plus extension, that was the talk of the spring training, is Sal going to get the extension? And in April, where he has the hot start to April, is he going to get the extension? And I think a lot of people, when they heard the kind of dismaying comments of, yeah, we can't do it right now with Sal. Well, you hear like the Bryce Spaldings and Nick Kirby's are like, well, then Chase Burns. Well, guess what? They did that, which is kind of astounding to kind of say, because we have a very pessimistic view toward this front office, because they feel like, all right, we're just going to keep going and being, eliminating peaks and valleys. We're going to be average. We're going to be just playing with the players that are, -1 WAR, +1 WAR. Nothing, building cornerstones with like Ellie and Sal and Abbott and Burns. We're just gonna, kind of be mid, as the kids would say. But this move, it makes them above average. This makes them above mid for the next 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, they signed one of the top 3 best young pitchers in all of baseball, and he's probably not number 1, but I don't think he's number 3. It's the 3 that I'm talking about are Paul Skeens, Mizorowski, and Burns. Like those 3 are the 3 in the next 5 years are going to be the complete face of baseball. And one of those complete faces of baseball is going to be pitching in a red uniform, and that's exciting. I can't. I try not to like jump for joy over here in my seat, because it's just like it just feels unprecedented, honestly.
And it's funny you mentioned those other guys, Miz and Skeens. Those guys aren't extended. I think there was whispers about Miz getting extended. I haven't seen it on paper yet. Skeens is in the Ellie category, I think. Skeens is in the Ellie category. What I mean by that is that I think he's going to have his 6 years of control, maybe get traded a year, maybe with a year of control to a bigger market, and then get his extension there. That's, I think, the Paul Skeens play. He's too expensive now. He literally went Rookie of the Year to Cy Young in year 1 and year 2. Like, Ellie didn't even do that. Ellie wasn't a Rookie of the Year. Ellie wasn't, top 10 MVP in the second year, maybe he's top 8. So, like, we're talking about a guy that's going to command a lot of money. It's Paul Skeens, that is, on the open market. Same with Ellie. So, unfortunately, those 2 superstars for their markets are, I don't think Skeens has the agent who should not be named, but obviously we know Ellie does. But maybe that's why Burns ended up getting extended. I don't believe his agent was not one of those hardliners that's going to, go all the way to the end and get free agency. But I don't know. Here's the one thing that kind of concerned me, because it's been pretty much really positive reaction. A lot of people, Foul Territory, all those outlets, MLB Network, were really positive about, hey, the Reds did something, right? The meme you always say, like, Reds, do something. Well, they did something.
With a stick.
Exactly. But we're talking about pitching. And I describe this contract as Hunter Green-esque because it's locked in early. The annual average value will probably be below market by the time he gets to the later years of his contract. There's the injury issue with pitchers. Every year, everything that happens with that. Is that something that maybe the Reds, I obviously also mentioned the name of Homer Bailey. Did the Reds maybe do too much here? And, they got the good publicity of, hey, we extended one of our stars. But is this going to end up being an albatross contract, do you think?
I don't think so. I think, what's it, $18 million annual value? Like, that seems pretty low, especially when you think about the potential of the CBA changes, potential salary cap. Like, that could be like a mid-market value kind of contract going forward. Plus, if the Reds can find a way to win games and make the playoffs and hopefully win a playoff series and hopefully win a playoff series at home, win some home playoff games, that's more revenue. And who knows what happens with the actual like team sharing payroll and stuff like that. Like that could be a very, very fair contract. And I think it would take like a Mark Pryor, Kerry Wood type injury situation for it to be an albatross. But I think it's a good contract. I think if they would have signed him for like 175 or 200 million, I think that would be kind of crazy. But yeah, 105. I mean, you're barely clearing 100 for 7 years. That's a good deal.
Yeah, yeah, and I was thinking even though that Hunter Green has missed half the year, he's still way undervalued compared to anyone comparable to his talent. Uh, the only other kind of main concern that I was also hearing is that Chase Burns is a two-pitch pitcher. He's fastball and he's slider. He hasn't really developed a third pitch. Does that give you any pause for concern that he may be a guy that gets figured out because he's only got the two pitches? And obviously, the slider is actually one of the nastiest pitches in baseball. So he's still ahead of the game right now as we speak. But pitchers adjust, hitters adjust. Teams get scouting reports and all that. Does that give you any pause that he's only kind of like a two-pitch pitcher at this point of his career?
No, because Hunter Green was up until 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, he became one of the best pitchers in baseball. Like, he finally lowered his ERA by over double. And that's when he added in, I think, a curveball and a splitter. He doesn't throw the splitter as often as, he probably could. But when he added the splitter in, it just added a different dynamic to his pitches. Also, Green's fastball, even post Tommy John, became faster and has more life. And I'm not trying to put those words in the air for Chase Burns, but when you look at Green, when he first came up, he was fastball, slider, and it was 99, 98, sometimes hit 100. And then around 2 years ago is when he started to add in a curveball every once in a while, a splitter, and his fastball actually increased in velocity, and he's hitting like 101, 102. I think he's even hit 103 a couple times, but we see guys whiff on that splitter a lot, and I think he knows that it's not his best pitch, but he knows that if he throws it, they're going to miss it. And it's all about having the two pitches that you've had being able to be commanded and located the way you want them, and then the pitch that you're not as comfortable with, as long as you can get it near the strike zone in any capacity, whether it's 2 feet to the dirt or at the back foot of a lefty, like, I think you can get away with that, and he's done that. So Burns has a curveball and a changeup that he doesn't throw a whole lot. His curveball doesn't look bad when he throws it. He just doesn't throw it a whole. I think he throws it like less than 2% of the time. It's just, I think once he gets more comfortable, maybe scraps the changeup and goes towards a splitter. Because I think I remember hearing him say during the All-Star break that he's been trying to pick up pitch grips. And I think, was it Chris Paddock when he was on the team? Him and Burns exchanged pitches. They were working on pitch grips together. So, what is he, 23? Like, he's still so super young, man. Like, it's like he would be like he's so young. I'm not worried about it. I guess in a roundabout, long-winded way. It's in 2 years, if he's still a two-pitch pitcher, maybe. But I mean, he's ahead of Hunter Green's curve. Granted, he pitched in college. Green didn't, but looking at the trajectory, he's ahead of what Hunter Green was in his first major league season.
Yeah. The only other major thing that it really hasn't popped up that much because he's been so excellent is the innings limit of this year. Now that he's got locked into his contract for the next 7 years till 2023 or 2033. Oh, I just made the mistake that Passan made, 2023, going backwards in time. Anyway, so we're moving forward. He's going to be locked up for 7 years. Do you shut him down mid-August, September? Because I don't know, unless this Red Legs team really makes a really out of character run, like say the Boston Red Sox just did, the Detroit Tigers are starting to make a little push. Like, do you risk it at all with this guy? Because you got him under contract. You know that he's worth the money. You know he's got the stuff, but do you risk it at all?
If they come out and they lose 2 out of 3 to Colorado, lose 2 out of 3 to Seattle, and then lose 2 out of 3 to St. Louis, yeah. But if they come out and sweep Colorado, take 2 out of 3 in Seattle, don't get swept in St. Louis, I kind of gives you a little bit of hope. Just obviously, I think we're a long ways away. We're 8 games out of a playoff spot. We're 15 and a half games out of the division. But when if you can make let's just say a 4-game swing for the end of the month, and you can drop it down to 4 games out of a playoff spot by July 31st, and you can get it down to maybe single digits in the division. And I'm not saying there's any hope for the division at all. I just think Milwaukee's too good and Chicago's too good. But if you can get the division, just become competitive in the division, because I think we're a lot better outside of the division than we are in the division. Yeah. So if we can win the out of division games and compete in the in the divisional games, I think you have to pitch him, because he's your best pitcher out with him and Hunter Green, and with Lodolo out for however long with the blisters again, and you're probably trading Singer at the deadline. I don't think you find they'd be kind of crazy to keep him, because I think they could get a decent return from him. You're going to need a starting pitcher unless you put Louder and Petty in the rotation and you shut down Burns. But like Louder and Petty together is not even anywhere near Burns as one pitcher. So it's a tough call to make, and I sadly one I don't want to think about, just because I want to see him pitch all year long. But I also want to see this team compete. But I want to see this team sell if we're going to be out of it. I don't want to have that false hope to where, we're in it, and then August 17th, a month from now, they're 11 games, 12 games out of a wild card spot, sitting 2 games above the worst team in baseball in Colorado. So I think if you're going full sell mode, I say yes. You sit him. You go ahead and just shut him down. But then it's also like you're paying him now, so like why not go ahead and pitch him?
Yeah.
Maybe just cut his game short to like 4 innings instead of 6.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe he comes out of the bullpen maybe a little bit, but that would still be kind of, I don't know. They'd be doing the Chase Petty thing to him. But anyway, it seems like, they'll have some tough decisions to make in the next couple weeks, because I don't think this team would be in it. So there'll be probably a shutdown that happens, unfortunately, for anyone that has tickets to the Reds in September. But, that's kind of how baseball is, man. They got to preserve those arms whenever they can, especially if they're 15 games out of the division. There's no need to hurt a guy that, is going to be there for the future. It's going to be your guy. It's going to be your Hunter Green till 2033. So I don't know. Any other thoughts about the Chase Burns extension before we move it on?
No, just I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's an exciting time. And, maybe now that we see that the Reds front office has opened up the purse strings, what is that going to mean for a guy like Sal Stewart? More after this ad.
Listen up, Reds fans. If you're repping the Cincinnati Reds this season, you need your drink just as cold as your takes. Introducing Frost Buddy, the world's first and only universal can cooler. Say goodbye to switching between coolers like you're rotating pitchers. Frost Buddy fits every 12-ounce can, slim can, 12-ounce bottle, and 16-ounce cans and bottles as well. All in one. No more guessing, no more swapping. Just grab it and go. And here's the game changer. Turn it into a tumbler by adding their 100% leak-proof coffee lid. That's right. From first pitch to morning commute, Frost Buddy's got you covered. So whether you're tailgating, watching from the couch, or celebrating a Reds win, this is the only cooler you'll need. Grab your favorite team's Frost Buddy now and keep it cold all season long.
Have you seen their water bottle designs?
No, I haven't. Oh yeah, you did show me that. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, my youngest son wanted a hot dog design, and then you can see the red, white, and blue one back there too in the background there.
Yeah. I look so much younger in that ad too. It's so crazy. Time flies.
Hey, right? That season aged just terribly.
Yeah, so far. But maybe we have a situation now. We're getting right before the 2027 CBA, or the December 1st CBA is coming up. The Reds, are they going to be spenders? Are we going to build a core? We got obviously Ellie, who's going into arbitration for his first year, which, good grief, what that number is going to look like. I can't even imagine. I'd like to see what those reports look like. I don't even know if they're in a lockout. If arbitration happens, they may have to delay that until maybe they get a deal set up. But anyway, that's a future problem. The Reds now spending on a core player like Chase Burns, had some rumors earlier in spring training in April about extending potentially Sal Stewart. Is that back on? Are we in a situation where we're maybe approaching his camp now? Because maybe it'll be cheaper to lock him up now than it would be after December 1st, 2026. Well, what are your thoughts here about potentially the Reds organization extending Sal Stewart?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get my hopes up. It feels like now would be the time to do it, just because you can get them both locked up together. But I'm reading through a Mark Sheldon article from June, and Sal said he's represented by Dan Lozano. He also represented Joey Votto and Yonder Alonso, with Votto being a former Red, Alonso being a former Red, and Alonso also being a friend of Sal Stewart. Sal said, I was open to it. The Reds don't feel like right now is the right time, which is 100% fine. I still have to prove myself and prove to the league what I can do. I leave all of the contract issues up to my agent. I have him for a reason. I trust him. I trust his decision making as well. So it feels like maybe he kind of approached the Reds in the beginning, or the team that his representative did, and the Reds kind of said no, and they kind of leaned towards Burns over Sal at the moment. Now that obviously Burns is wrapped up and it's done, maybe they can kind of get back into those meetings and have those discussions. But I also wanted to read you Nick Krall's comments about it too. He said he could be in consideration. He's been really good for us, but we have not had discussions with him yet. So kind of a weird way to say that you're kind of lying, because when you have the player saying that they don't feel like now is the right time, obviously they had to have told him that it's not the right time. I don't know. I mean, obviously, he's in year 1 of team control. I think Burns is technically in year 2, just because of where he got called up last year. So you're really not missing anything out. Even if you extend Sal next year, you're probably, if you sign him for a 7-year deal next year, you're probably essentially getting him at the same terms. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just weird because like it feels like this is the year that's like one of the more important years to do this kind of stuff, just because of all the CBA talks and potentially not having a season next year. And you're seeing all the other young hitters getting extended. Colt Emerson with Seattle, like you said, Witherholt in St. Louis. You saw guys like you said, Jackson Churio getting extended in AAA. And we've made the joke about extending Alfredo Duno now, even though he just hit AA, which I'm still down for. Sign him, but it's weird. It just seems like the Reds never. I'd be interested in to see what the Reds' record is for a hitter in that kind of situation with the pitcher being Homer Bailey, because Votto was in year 4. He was in arbitration when he signed his extension. When did Bruce got extended, right? So what was, I think his was post or close to arbitration. I don't think there was ever a hitter that I can remember for the Reds that got extended pre-arbitration or as early as what Sal is right now. So I guess I kind of understand it, I guess. But I think Sal is kind of proving that he can be, I mean, obviously he's an all-star in year 1. And we heard the comments that Dave Roberts said about Sal during his at-bat during the all-star game that, you know, he's a pro's pro. And for him to play that he's the way he's playing, have the head on his shoulders that he has, I think there's no doubt in my mind that Sal's going to be one of the best players in the league during his 6 years of control with the Reds. I mean, we've seen the Albert Pujols comparisons with his numbers. We're seeing, just the absurdity stuff that he's doing with he broke Frank Robinson's record for the most home runs by a rookie before the All-Star break. I mean, you think about some of the power hitters that have come through the Reds in the last 40 years. Eric Davis, Barry Larkin, Adam Dunn, Ellie, just Jay Bruce, Todd Frazier, guys that have come up through the organization as a rookie, and Sal's the guy that hits the most in a season to break Frank Robinson's record. So, yeah, I mean, I would hope they would get it done. I think this kind of leans towards that they're probably not going to get it done, but I'm interested in hear what you think, because I feel like I'm just kind of rambling at this point, just trying to talk myself into saying that they're going to do it when I kind of feel like they're not going to do it.
Yeah, it feels like the conversation is not there, and for it to not be there, I guess it could come out of the blue. There wasn't many whispers about Chase Burns getting extended. It came out of kind of left field, more or less, and we weren't hearing any whispers or any rumors or anything like that. It's either a credit to his agent or Burns for just keeping it under wraps and not necessarily leaking it to anybody. But you got to think that everyone, when they saw Kevin McGonigal and Connor Griffin get extended earlier this year, like the same time that Sal was killing it in April, that was the blueprint for the contract that Sal would be to sign. Like that would be the terms, right? 7 or 8 years for 150 for, I think, those two guys. The numbers are around there. I think McGonigal might have been around there. Griffin maybe is closer to like 120. Either way, that's like the blueprint. Does that mean that that's a possibility still? I'd like to think so, but I don't know. The Reds, sometimes they make these comments like, we have to wait and see. We have to figure out, what's going to happen with the market, what's going to happen with, contracts going forward. It feels like 150 might be too much for the Reds right now, which is why they went to plan B and got Chase Burns at 105. And that probably for them, that's like, that's a lot of money. Obviously, the graphics are always out there when they rank the richest owner to lowest owner. It's always Phil Castellini coming in 30th, dead last, and basically that's the reality we live in right now with the revenue sharing that we have, with the fact that there's no salary cap to keep salaries from getting out of control. I don't know. I like to think that Sal is going to be the next in line, because like you mentioned, he broke Frank Robinson's record, 19 homers before the All-Star break. And I don't know if you know your Reds history too well, but the Frank Robinson fiasco, the trade, and after the 1965 season, was one of the worst trades in MLB history, outside of maybe Babe Ruth from the Red Sox to the Yankees, because he went on a tear and killed the Reds, got an MVP, won the 1970 World Series for the Baltimore Orioles. We don't want that future for Sal. We don't want him to be here for 6 years, get traded to some contender potentially, and then Sal's winning a World Series for the Toronto Blue Jays or something. You know what I mean? Like, we want to keep our guys, and it feels like we have a core four. It feels like we got 4 guys: Ellie, Sal, Burns, Hunter, maybe throw in Abbott as a 5th guy. Like, that's a core 4. Now you need more than that, obviously, and that's where Nick Kroll makes the big money and Brad Meador makes the big money. But they also have to make sure the core stays around longer than just the 6 years of team control. I don't know. I'm kind of worried about the Sal stuff, because there's been even rumors. The Locked On guys talk about how the Reds are basically kind of banking on the CBA to bring down basically Sal's price, because they're going to have a harder cap potentially, or a floor that will kind of kick the Reds organization into gear to actually extend somebody so they get above the floor, but they don't want it to be too expensive or what have you. I don't know. It feels like the Sal extension might be after this season at the very at the very least. I don't know. It's to me, it feels like they had an opportunity before he had the amazing April, before he had the All-Star appearance, before he broke Frank Robinson's record, and they didn't consummate the deal. And because of that, tomorrow's price ain't yesterday's price, so it's just going to keep going up and up and up because it ain't like Sal's going to get worse. He seems he knows he's got like a great understanding of the game, and he also makes T. Brian Hayes redundant. He's a above average third baseman. This is the thing that was kind of like they weren't sure about. They're going to pigeonhole him as a first baseman because they weren't sure about his defensive ability. He can play third, so trade all the other guys. Get the rod out of the system. Make the four guys that need to be a part of this core extended, and then we can call it a day for the 2026 season. We could look to the future, but will that happen? Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, so I was pondering something while you were making great points. I was thinking that maybe Chase was plan A, and Sal's always been plan B, and maybe it's because of how bad they've been at signing free agents. You look at Jeimer Candelario's contract. You look at you go back a little bit. They're not paying for him anymore, but for Mike Moustakas' contract this year, Suarez's contract, Brady Singer's making like what $14.5 million this year. Lodolo's going to make good money in arbitration if he comes back, and they're probably thinking like, okay, Candelario's contract doesn't fully come off the books next year. I think they have a buyout, I think, to get out of it.
Yeah. And
maybe they're thinking once his salary is off the books and there's the buyouts in place, maybe that would just be like a swap. And maybe that would be something that's done. But then you're also worried about the CBA and stuff like that too. But I was thinking maybe Burns has always been plan A, and they just did such a good job of keeping it under wraps, just because, you get the pitcher. I mean, we saw that in 22 when they got Hunter Green.
Yeah.
I think that kind of came out in left field too. I never saw anything kind of leaking it happening until it actually happened. And that tends to happen with the Reds with extension talks anyway. I feel like when we hear about guys rumored to being extended, they never get extended. Like we see with Ellie, saw with Lodolo a few years ago, Tyler Stevenson, and now we're hearing it with Sal. But when it just kind of happens, it's like, oh, they must have been talking about it for a while, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. That was just weird, just thoughts that were kind of going through my head, just thinking about it. And maybe that's what it was, and they had to make sure they had their ace locked up like they did 4 years ago with Green, and that's kind of future proofing them too. If something happens to Green, if they trade Green, they're hearing more rumors about him in the trade deadline, which would be hilariously crazy if they did that this year, because you would get the least amount of value you could ever have from him just from pitching 2 starts this year. So yeah, I think, my GM hat is saying you have Hunter Green and Chase Burns locked up, with Green locked up through 2029 and Burns locked up to 2033. You got Andrew Abbott for the next 3 years of team control, I think, through 2028, 2029. And then you have Rhett Lauder, who's also under team control through 2030, I believe. So that's 5 really good pitchers. And that's 2 that you're 100% confident in is going to be your face of your staff, with now 3 all-stars in that rotation. And that's pretty wild to think about. Just I don't think anybody thought that Burns would be an all-star starting pitcher in year 1, and they got him locked up. But yeah, I guess going back to Sal, I just maybe it happens. Maybe it happens when it's least expected. We're all scrolling through TikTok, and then all of a sudden you get that Twitter notification from Mark Feinstein, and it's like, oh, there it is. Yay.
It could be. That theory of him being plan A, I can see it now, because we always talk about Great American Small Park. We're never going to get free agent starting quality pitchers. We're going to get guys off the bargain bin. We're going to get guys that maybe we trade for in like Singer, but not guys that are going to want to be here because they're free agents and they're going to command decent money, right? So that makes sense to make pitching priority A. It's kind of why I wish they drafted a little bit more pitching, and we'll talk about the draft in a little bit, but neither here nor there on that. We'll talk about that, obviously, in a second, but they haven't had a really good track record of getting free agent hitters either. So that's the problem that I have with Sal being plan B. I would say Sal would be plan A, and then you get to Burns. But, sometimes things don't always happen the way you want it to happen. It could have been we want to lock down our pitching because it's going to be hard to find pitchers that are going to dominate at, Great American Ballpark. It's a very hitter-friendly park, as we all talk about every single episode, it feels like sometimes. And he's a dominant pitcher that is just out the gate showing what he can do in his first full year. So that any other organization, this is like, oh, duh. You extend this guy. But we have to also make sure we got guys that can hit too, because Ellie ain't going to be here forever.
Yeah. And I have another crazy thought too. Just I don't want to say it's crazy, but Chase Burns made his major league debut June 24th last year. He gets extended July 16th. Seth made his debut September 1st.
I was there.
So just tinfoil hat. He gets extended like September 11th.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice of a date, but yeah.
Well, I was thinking 1 and 1. Okay,
yeah.
September 1st, 10 days later. I don't know. September 14th. How about that?
There you go. Yeah. when they make the playoffs against
the New York
odds.
Jets are on TV.
yeah. You never know. That could be. It could be. I'd like to see it, and it'd be very interesting if we can get a core that we can feel good about. It would be the saving grace of this season is that, sure, we may get close to losing 100 games. We may lose 90 games, but at least we know Ellie, Sal, Burns, halftime, Hunter Green, and Andrew Abbott will be on the 2027 team if there's a season. I guess we always got to caveat that now going forward. So
we'll be there.
Yeah, they put out the schedule, Ricky, and everyone is just making their jokes, getting their jokes off on the MLB promoting their important dates of 2027.
I think the most important date's December 1st, 2026. So,
yep.
Let's worry about that one first, guys.
Yeah. Priorities. Anything else about Sal? Oh, and my other thing is, if Sal is off the table, we hear whispers. If Alfredo Duno's in AAA in 2027, sign the extension then, as soon as he puts on a Bats uniform. I'm not even kidding with that, because they did the same thing with Rio, right? Wasn't he like a week into AAA or something like that for the?
I think it was spring training.
Yeah, even earlier. But as soon as he's hinted at being a Louisville bat, the talks should. I'm not even joking with that. Like, he seems to be the real deal. And they had that all-star interview at the Futures game that he has the confidence. And he was just saying it in his mother tongue. He was saying it in Spanish, that he says he feels ready to hit major league, pitchers. But his defense is something he's still worried about. And that's been the book on him, right? Like, that's not something surprising.
It's not a secret.
No, and he's still a decent receiver. This guy a Venezuelan. They got Venezuelan catchers all over the place. You know what I mean? This is like their thing. This is like how we used to have, U.S. men's national team soccer goalkeepers. We used to have all the like them for miles, but not anymore anyway. And we won't go down that path. But yeah, Venezuelan catcher is like synonymous. So like he's not a schlub. He's not a guy that's like learning the position for the first time ever. So, but that
all right, but before we move on to the draft, extend Hector Rodriguez right now.
Ooh, that's a hot take. I got to see what he does at Major League Baseball.
I mean, if you could get him like, let's just say it's 100 Greendale, 6 years, 8 years, 70 million.
Oh, if he says yes, possibly, but yeah, that's a good question. I'd like to see him get a call up first, to be honest with you, because
Yeah.
he's got a high chase rate. He's got a crazy in the zone contact rate, which I don't know if that will translate to the majors, but he's a good one. I want to see him in a Reds uniform before the end of the 26th season. Obviously,
He should be up by the end of the month.
Should be, but I don't know. They might try to manipulate his control. And it was the same talk we were having about Sal at this time last year.
Yeah.
They were like, Sal should be up. Sal should be up. And they wait until September 1st. So I wouldn't be surprised if September 1st, Hector is in the transaction logs.
Yeah. Extend Haas and Hendrick too.
Yeah. Well, you said he's going to be a
there.
free agent. He might need the extension.
Yeah.
Well, Ricky, we did not have a minor league Monday to recap the 2026 Major League Amateur Draft, but we did have 13 of the 14 potential signees signed to the Cincinnati Reds, sign a contract, which is great to see. The only one that held out was, I believe, Eric Becker, University of Virginia, but supposedly he's going to get paid over slot value because he was a second-round pick, and he was supposed to go like 42nd. But we ended up getting him all the way down to 58, which is a good thing. We got a steal, which is a positive thing. And it's kind of really hard to judge these things, especially in the moment, because there's so many players that I'm not going to profess to be an expert, Ricky, because I do not watch college baseball that religiously as much as minor league or Major League Baseball. So it's kind of hard to know exactly what these guys are going to be in the majors, let alone, the tools that they'll work on or be able to fix and what have you at the next level. That being said, we've got our guys. They've already got assigned to the ACL Reds, and I guess they're not going to be playing probably tonight, but they're going to be probably getting in their uniforms for the Reds sooner or later. But what were your main takeaways from this 2026 MLB draft?
LeBron's coming home, baby. No, it's cool. I'd say they did a I don't want to say mid because I think that's disrespectful to the players. I think they did an average job at filling needs, and they did something kind of unorthodox for them too. They went kind of college heavy this year, and I think I wrote about it not too long ago. One high school pick in the first 10 rounds of the draft, and last year they had 3, and 3 of them were in the first 5 picks for them because they had Steele Hall number 1, Aaron Watson number 2, Eli Pitts was at 5, I think, if I remember right.
Sounds right.
So they went college heavy this year, and there's a strategy to that, I think, too, with typically college players are a lot more major league ready compared to high school kids. So you could see a Justin LeBron on the Reds in 2028 if things go right. He could begin his career in high A and hit double A the same year, begin triple A the next year, and get promoted at the end of the year that year. That's like best case scenario, right? So you're not going to see Steele Hall do that no matter how great he plays, just because the Reds aren't going to rush an 18-year-old through the farm system. They would, because you want you want them to basically have that college experience while also being a professional in the organization. So I mean, I guess overall, I like the LeBron pick. Another shortstop. I think that kind of gets over talked about, honestly. I think as long as Ellie's on the team, it doesn't matter what you could take the best shortstop in the draft, and they're not gonna play him at short as long as Ellie's on the team. I mean, Matt McLean was a very highly regarded shortstop when he came through, and they moved him to second base because they knew Ellie was going to be on the team. So And then that's not even saying about how good somebody is at defense, because we're seeing that with Ke'Bryan Hayes. Like, we're seeing Sal Stewart get starts over Ke'Bryan Hayes when Ke'Bryan Hayes is healthy sometimes. So, and Suarez, we've seen Suarez at third. So, it is strange though, because they did take another shortstop and the high school kid Dylan Bowen, but he's an oddity too, just because he's already 19 and a half. He's an older kid, and I think he's from Indiana, I believe, up near Chicago area. So yeah, he was the one high school person that they drafted in the first 10 rounds, with the next high school pick being I'm not even seeing it. That's how.
So there was a two-way player. Is it Brody Purcell? You said.
The two-way player was Kenny Ishikawa.
Oh, okay.
He was the 13th round pick. I'm trying to. He pitched at Georgia and played at Georgia. It's funny because the Reds like his pitching, but his hitting stats are so much better than his pitching stats. So it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
You might as well go with two-way player at that point. Let him make up his own runs.
Right.
So, I mean,
is it Hinjosa?
Yeah.
Is that the one you're talking about?
It might be, because I'm looking at Reds on the Rise, their Instagram page, and
yeah,
they don't have every pick on here. They kind of stopped. So, yeah, it is Hinojosa, 15th round pick. He was a Poly Prep high school in New York, is what his high school is. So 2 high school picks in the first 15 rounds is kind of crazy to me, because they always pick high school kids very early. And then they tried to sneak in the Mueller kid, and obviously you're not going to sign a 4-star quarterback going to an SEC school, and he's also going to play baseball at that school too in the SEC in the 18th round. I think the Reds were the only team that had a chance of signing him late in the draft just because of where he's from. But it'd be interesting to see what he decides to do in 3 years, if he's going to go pro in football or baseball or either, and see what happens. But I guess overall, as far as like a grade for the draft, I think if I had to give it a letter, C-, C+, C-. Nothing really jumps out at you. I mean, LeBron could be something special. He was once regarded as the number 1 prospect in the draft last year to go number 1 overall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's about the only one that I would get like super excited about. And then I'm also intrigued by the two-way player, just because if they leave that alone and let him try it, he'll be, potentially playing in let's just say low A, high A next year. Low A, let him run with that and see how it goes, because they did it with Shingen Lin, and I don't think they handled it the right way. And you could do that with him, someone who's fresh out of college, and let him just see what it does, and then you can just make a choice a year later or whatever.
Yeah. It's hard to judge. I don't know if I can really even put a grade on this, because 2 years from now, a bunch of these players could be playing above what they were expected. So I don't know exactly what to expect from these guys. It is true that like Justin LeBron was a guy talked about with Rock Cholowski or whatever it is from the White Sox as like a potential number 1 pick. And then Eric Becker, I guess, fell down too, because he was supposed to be like 42nd pick, but went to 58th. So I guess the Reds maybe picked guys that fell down in the draft and were like, hey, best player available, we're taking them. Hopefully that translates to the, wherever they end up in the system at, Daytona. Hopefully they just kill it when they get down there, like a Kian Vu killed it right off the bat. for his first time in low A. The other one that's interesting is the comp pick, the UCLA guy that also played with Cholowski. I keep messing his name up. Sound like the commissioner. But yeah, Lavu, it'll be interesting to see because he's got tons of power and also is a Gold Glove first baseman. So he could be a guy that moves through the system fairly decently if he's mature enough and cuts down his swing rate and whatnot. The one also another interesting one, Ethan Norby, Connor Norby's brother. The kind of quiet powerhouse out there in East Carolina. I got that right from McChrystal there. Producing a bunch of guys like Trey Savage. I was seeing something that he's got elite spin rate on his sweeper. So this is a guy that is built like Sam Mole, like 5'10", 170. Could be someone that moves through the system. We could desperately use another potential guy that's got elite sweeper action and can pitch out of the pen. I don't know. Supposedly he had a lot of innings on his arm at East Carolina, so it'll be interesting if they shut him down right away and we won't see him until 2027. But we will see for sure. But I think they also possibly said that he could be a steal as well, being that East Carolina has produced a lot of major leaguers lately, and his brother is in the Marlins system as well. So there's that. The only other ones of note that stand out is that Ishikawa, and then also, Potnoski. They had to lure him away. It's probably why he went to the 18th round. They're just taking a flyer, being like, maybe he won't play football. But, I don't know exactly. Being a high school kid, being in the minors is not necessarily as appealing as, like you said, playing SEC football, even if it is for UK and not necessarily for the other SEC schools. But still, a quarterback is going to want to probably be a quarterback. But, we will see what this team looks like. I'd like to see what the assignments are going to look like after they have their little, evaluation in Arizona. Obviously, I said they were in the ACL roster. They may get a couple games here and there and then be shipped off to Daytona or wherever they end up. But the overall approach to this draft felt different than years past. Like you said, my approach is like how the Reds have been. Draft college pitchers, get prep shortstops. College pitchers, prep shortstops. Maybe here and there, some other type, outfielder, maybe some prep pitcher here and there. But they went away from that a bit because I think they saw maybe the rankings of Baseball America in their system being the 25th out of 30. So they were like, let's get college players who I think Justin LeBron and Eric Decker are going to be in the top 10 based on a lot of people's rankings and our rankings possibly as well. It could be a top 10 in our system already. So I think they were like Nick Krall, Brad Meador are like, hey, the Reds are not winning. They're 9 games under 500 at the major league level. Our farm system is getting ripped apart by all these, media outlets. We got to do something. The easiest thing to do is draft, college players who could be major league ready, like you said, sooner than later. And then all of a sudden now our farm system is now 15th or 12th because they infuse this talent. I think that's the play.
Yeah, and I guess I'll ask you this too. Who do you think is your, I guess, most intriguing pick? I guess outside of the number 1 overall pick, I guess that just kind of seems like that would be the one to go to. I'm kind of reading through. I think it's Mulavai Lavu. I'm trying to, because I think he's Hawaiian Samoan descent.
Mm-hmm.
So, he's a 2-time Gold Glove winner at first base. He's second team All-American this past season. He was a College Baseball Foundation All-America honorable mention this year, first team All-Big Ten this year, second team All-Big Ten last year, so there was improvement. He started all 59 games this year, /340, 441, 622, at 63 RBIs, 18 home runs, 12 doubles, and he also led the team in walks with 30. So you're getting a power bat with elite glove that is a left-handed hitter, and I think, I don't want to sound crazy here, but like maybe you're looking at a left-handed version of Sal Stewart with him. depending on how, just because of the walks and the power, if we could find a way to move on from Key Brian Hayes, and in 2 years you have Sal at third and Lavu at first, that'd be a pretty good move. Cam Collier is also in that discussion too, but I think Lavu is one of my more intriguing picks with this draft. 3rd round pick, or technically a 2nd round pick, comp pick.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm a UCLA baseball fan at heart too, so I like it. And who do you have as your most intriguing pick?
Well, because he hasn't signed yet, I'd say Eric Becker. He's a guy that has been talked about how he's supposed to be picked much earlier. Fell to us at 58. It's, I guess, a contact first guy. I guess he got a 60 grade on his bat. So something that the Reds like. They like contact guys. Can play, I think, 3rd and 2nd. They don't see him long-term as a shortstop for his range there and athleticism, but that's fine. We already got shortstop pretty much kind of set up for the next couple of years and what have you. Could use a future second baseman, or maybe they move him around and play 3rd or what have you. I'd like to see what he does in the minors because he has been a plus bat in NCAA. I'd like to see him get signed actually first and foremost, and then be able to put on a Daytona Tortugas uniform or ACL Reds uniform, whatever, and see what he actually looks like with real at bats. That's my most intriguing pick out of this draft class.
Yeah, so I'm kind of reading some stuff on Becker here. It's funny because a college university wrote this. Hit leadoff in 40 of 26 games.
Okay. Seems
a little odd there. Should be 26 of 40.
Yeah.
It's our education system for you. But hit 317, 16 doubles, a triple, 7 home runs, 42 RBIs, 45 games started at shortstop. Drove in a season high 6 runs at Notre Dame, collected 2 home runs in that same game against Notre Dame. Hit 3 leadoff home runs, including back-to-back games against George Washington and VCU. 3rd team all ACC, U.S. College Baseball National Team, and 2025 third team all ACC. I don't want to say this in a negative way because I'm not meaning this in a negative way. I'm kind of getting vibes of like college Matt McClain from him.
Yeah.
Not 2026 Matt McClain.
Yeah.
Shortstop, probably plays better at second base. We thought had great bat to ball skills. Don't know what happened there. But yeah, I mean, if he could turn into what Matt McClain was in 2 years, I mean, that's a great pick at 2nd round because McClain was a 1st round pick. So that'd be a good move to see, especially with some of the guys that are coming up too. Like what do they do with Justin LeBron? Let's just say he gets crazy hot and he's in AAA next year, which is wild to think about, but let's just say it happens, What does that mean for like where he's going to play? Because you've also got Edwin Arroyo at the major league team. You've also got Matt McClain on the major league team. You've got Sal Stewart, Spencer Steer, Ellie, Key Brian Hayes. Like, it's a log for the infield. And you would like to see some players get some consistent playing time at a specific position. Like, if we're going to keep Arroyo, like he needs to play at second base. McClain, I think the writing's kind of on the wall for him. I think they're kind of acknowledging that by playing him at center field and not moving Arroyo to second field, because you would think that they would have the more established players say at the position they played their whole career. So I don't know. I like the Becker pick though. Now that you kind of talked me into it a little bit more. I was never against it, but you've kind of reeled me in with it. I like that's a good pick.
Yeah. The funny thing is, though, a bunch of the picks that they got for college-age guys do not have great walk rates. We got a lot of chase rate on them, and that is like against organizational supposed values. But we still have a bunch of guys that are on this major league team that do the same thing. It feels like of late. Maybe 2025 was the high watermark for disciplined baseball, and now we're back to playing kind of regular Reds undisciplined baseball. And we'll probably get more onto that as we go on the Sunday show, talking about the failings of the Reds and their major league exploits. But the draft seems fine. Like I said, we're gonna have to grade this 2 years. You know what I mean? That's the funny thing about you can't even grade like the NFL draft immediately after, because these guys haven't even put on pads. So it's like, okay, I think they did all right. You can see the strategy is they're trying to inject talent into the affiliates. They're not trying to make the ACL Reds the champions of the complex league. You know what I mean? Like, because they've already got enough talent there. That's the thing, right? And I don't know. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do, where they assign them. That'll be the next step.
Yeah, we saw the guys that did get assigned to the ACL. One of those guys we will be talking to in the coming days. A little teaser there. Yeah, it is funny how the Reds kind of go through their process with that, because we saw last year, Kean Vu, Mason Neville. So he's calling him Neville for some reason. I don't know who started that, but
Probably me.
Let's see. From
the draft last year.
Yes,
yeah, so long ago.
I know, right?
Steele Hall, Aaron Watson,
Tyson Lewis. There we go.
No,
he wasn't drafted, but he was, on the low A team. But we saw Kean Vu, the other two that I just named.
Yeah.
They got assigned to low A shortly after the draft, right? And we're seeing guys that got drafted this year getting assigned to the ACL. Maybe that's just a formality, kind of get them used to the organization, company meeting, as we would call it in our land of everyday work folk. And then we'll see them disperse. It's kind of like a pseudo spring training in a way, where they're like, hey guys, welcome to the team. This is Arizona. Okay, now you're going to Daytona.
Yeah. My understanding is that they go to Arizona first to, obviously that's where our, spring training facility is. And they have their probably analytics, video capture stuff. So I think they evaluate them on their mechanics and stuff. And then after 10 days or whatever, I think some of the guys we interviewed talked about this process. They evaluate them, they get them batting practice, do all the fielding stuff, basically work them out, and then make their decision of what they do, play in the ACL, play in, low A Daytona, or shut them down, which they'll probably do with some of those pitchers, is my understanding. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting. That's what I said. That's the next step. We will cover it when that happens, obviously, and tell you what's going on with that with one of our Minor League Monday shows, and maybe if some of the guys pop and show out in the ACL or low A Daytona, we'll be there to talk about it. But yeah, do you have anything else, Ricky, before we sign off for tonight?
No, just super excited to have Chase Burns extended. One of the top 2 chases in the city of Cincinnati. So yeah, that's exciting. With the other one being Jamar Chase, of course. But
yeah, and he got his extension too, I think, last year.
So the Cincinnati likes extending chases. So Chase Petty getting extended soon.
I do want to shout out the Dominican Summer League All-Stars, Eder Gutierrez, Angel Nunez Jr., and also Yasias Escalona, Ricky's guy, Yasias. They're going to have their All-Star game on Sunday at the Tampa Bay Rays spring training facility complex. I think it's like 10 a.m. on Sunday. So 3 of those guys are our own, which is great because we had, I think, 3 last year. Pablo Nunez, Iker Redona, and who was the other one?
Adolfo Sanchez.
So, that's pretty good. Got 3 All-Stars again, and hopefully those guys get a chance to show what they're about. I don't think there'll be any televised of that, and maybe I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, I doubt it. Our best chance is going on the MILB app, and then there's something on it. But I don't know. I think last year it was in the Dominican, right? So I think them having it in the United States this year is different. So maybe, I mean, there's cameras there. Maybe they'll have it televised.
Possible. I'm not saying I'm a big Florida complex league guy, so maybe they have some streaming capability at the Tampa Bay Rays facility. But like I said, we'll search it out and let you know if there is. If there is, I will be watching and trying to pick up, see where our guys are doing. So, but yeah, until then, I guess, go Reds.
Go Reds.